Hi, welcome to Fireflow. So nice active class today for you. Couple of blocks and a couple of cushions would be really good. And we're going to come start using some of the props from the beginning. So today will be about opening up through the shoulders, through the chest, a little bit of option to take some back bends if that's feeling good. So yeah, go with what feels good for you today, and feel free to take or leave the options as feels right for your body. So if you'd like to be opening up chest and shoulders, if you've got blocks, you may want to have a little setup here. You're going to have one block for your head and then one block that will sit in between your shoulder blades. Depending on who you are, you might find that actually lying straight on the blocks feels really good. For me, it's a little bit uncomfortable, so I guess it depends what kind of blocks you have. If the blocks are feeling uncomfortable, you might find that just a cushion or a blanket over that middle block helps it to not dig into your back. So that's an option if you've got the props available to help open up the chest and shoulders. And you'll be lying down on your back over those. So like I said, that block will be in between the shoulder blades. So it takes a little bit of scooting and adjusting at the beginning. And then you've got the other block to support your head. So as you can see, that broadens and opens up through my chest. So if you haven't got the blocks, then of course you can just start lying down on your back instead. That's not a problem. This is just an option to start if that feels good. So starting off with the knees bent, so feet can be at the outside of the mat, knees together, and allowing the eyes to close and maybe the palms opening up to the sides. So getting a feeling whether you're using the props or not of the chest opening, the shoulders opening. So seeing if you can really allow the shoulders to sink down into the earth, feeling a broadening across your chest. And then breathing into this space across the front of the body. Maybe as you inhale, you're broadening the chest out to the sides as well as to the front. So particularly getting into this kind of lower rib area, which maybe has a little bit more space now to open up to allow the oxygen into the body. And in this position, maybe giving yourself permission to be open to practice today, to allow the energy from the practice into your body. Maybe giving yourself a chance to breathe in fresh, new energy, something that feels a little bit different from the rest of the day. Maybe if the rest of the day has felt a bit stuck or a bit stagnant, allowing fresh energy to enter into your body and fill it up, breathing in across the chest. And then keeping the eyes closed on your next inhale, option to allow the arms to rise overhead. So maybe they, especially if you're up on your props, maybe they stay level with the ears. It may be that there's space for the thumbs to come down as the palms face towards each other to reach the ground. But if that starts to feel like you're getting an overextension in your back, like you're really having to arch your spine to get it there, then keeping the hands reaching without touching the ground, reaching the fingertips out. And then exhale, the hands come back down by the sides, palms up. So taking a few breaths like this, inhaling, Arms reach up overhead, reaching to the back of the mat, the back of the room with the fingertips. Option for the thumbs to touch down to the ground if that's feeling good today. And then exhale, arms come back down, open to the sides of the body. Inhale once more, reaching up overhead, palms facing each other. And exhale, hands back down. And then turning the palms over so that you come up onto the fingertips. And then from here, option to either stay on the fingertips, you can draw the fingers so that they're level with the shoulders, so the arms are reaching nice and wide, getting that opening across your chest. Or if you want to, you can take a little hover with the fingers, lifting them off the ground, allowing the muscles of the neck and shoulders of the chest to engage to support the hands. And taking a few deep breaths here, broadening across the chest, reaching the fingertips as far away from each other as they can, creating as much space as you can between one shoulder and the other. Taking one more breath here, really, really reaching fingertips away from each other, inhaling to expand, and exhale, hands come back down. From here, great, gently opening the eyes, bringing yourself up to seated, using the forearms and the elbows to bring yourself up to seat. And then moving any props that you've got out of the way. And coming onto all fours, hands and knees. Hands directly underneath your shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And coming through a few cat-cows. So taking these at your own pace, what feels good for you. As you inhale, allowing the tailbone to rise, chest comes through the arms, lifting the gaze. And exhale, pressing through the hands as you round the spine, tucking the tailbone, coming into cat. So coming through this a couple of times, warming up the spine, getting it ready for practice. So these can be as big or as small as you want. They can be as fast or as slow as feels good. Seeing if you can match one movement with one breath, no matter how you're taking your cat-cows today. And coming through one more time at whatever pace is feeling good for you. And then when you're ready, coming back to center on your inhale, reaching one leg, then the other back, coming straight into plank, seeing if you can engage through the core to keep the middle of the body strong, reaching from the crown of the head to the tip of the toes. And then rolling over onto the little toe edge of the left foot and the big toe edge of the right foot, opening up into a side plank. So you can stack the feet here if you prefer, or you can stay with both feet on the ground. And then reaching the top arm overhead, palm faces down towards the ground. So opening up through the chest, through the side body. Inhale, arm back up to center. And exhale, coming back into plank. When you're ready, rolling over onto the other side. So outside edge of the right foot, inside edge of the left. And reaching the top arm up, opening up through the chest. Fingertips reach towards the sky. As you exhale, palm facing down, arm comes down by the ear, reaching up overhead into a side stretch. Inhaling back up to center, and exhale back into your plank. From here, rocking back into downward facing dog. Opening up through the back of the legs, maybe you take a little pedal with the feet. So as you exhale, the right heel comes down, coming up onto the toes of the left. Inhale, swapping over up onto the toes of the right, and exhale, the left heel lowers down. So taking a couple of little pedals here, gently opening up the back of the legs if that's feeling good. And then on your next inhale, bringing the knees down to the ground. Coming to sit back on the heels. Hands come behind the body. And coming into saddle pose here. So as you inhale, option to lift the hips and begin to open up through the front of the legs. You can bring this into a little back bend if you want. The head can come back. So this can be as big or as small a movement as you want. Exhale, coming down. So taking a couple more of these. Inhale. So option, you can lift the hips just a tiny bit here if that feels good. You can lift a little bit more if that feels okay. Exhale, coming down. So really feeling into how your body is today, how your back's feeling, how the front of your thighs are feeling. Inhale to lift. And exhale to lower. Bringing the hands back in front and coming back into downward facing dog. So you can take a couple more pedals with the feet, or if you're feeling to, you can straighten the legs, you can keep the legs bent. Really grounding down through the knuckles of the fingers, allowing the head to be heavy, the neck to be soft. On your next inhale, step, walk or float, coming to meet at the top of your mat in halfway lift, bringing the hands to shins, spine comes long. Exhaling, folding forward. As you inhale, rising up, rolling up through the spine, reaching tall, and hands come to prayer. Inhale, reaching up tall. Exhale, folding forwards, coming into your forward fold. So knees can be bent, they can be straight. Inhale into halfway lift, spine comes long. Exhale, hands by the feet, stepping back into plank. From here, lowering down your version of chaturanga. Maybe you bring the knees down for this first one. Maybe you feel good to lower down from full plank. And lowering down when you're ready, untucking the toes, coming into cobra or upward dog, peeling up from the breastbone. Exhale, back into downward facing dog. Taking a breath in, downward dog, opening up through the back of the legs, reaching down with the heels and up with the hips. On your next inhale, right foot lifts up from the ground, coming into one-legged dog, so it can be lifted as far or as high as you'd like. And then shifting forwards a little bit towards the hands, lifting the gaze and bending the knees. So taking kind of a little back bend here. Getting a feeling of the chest drawing towards the arms and through the arms. And then coming forwards into plank. Option to keep that leg lifted if you'd like. And you can lower down either all the way or through chaturanga with the leg lifted or bringing the leg down. And then untucking your toes, coming into cobra or upward dog. And exhale, finding your way back to downward facing dog. So giving that a little go on the other side. When you're ready, inhale, lifting your left leg as high as feels good. And lifting through the inside of the thigh so that you are able to keep that sort of helps to keep the hips level. When you're ready, shifting forwards, gaze comes forward. Bending the back knee. And then option to lower down, coming into plank with that leg lifted if that feels good. And maybe you lower down all the way or through chaturanga with the leg lifted. On your inhale, peeling up into upward dog or cobra. And exhale into downward facing dog. On your next inhale, right foot comes forward in between your hands, using your hand to help it get there if that feels better. And then lowering the back knee, coming into low lunge. So you can either have the toes tucked or untucked. Inhale, rising up, reaching up tall with the hands. And exhale, cactus arms, lion's breath. Inhale, reaching tall. Exhale, bringing the hands by the feet, lifting up the back toes, bringing the back toes flat, keeping a bend through the front knee, rising up into warrior two. Reaching out through the fingertips in warrior two. On your inhale, front palm reverses. Coming into reverse warrior, you can take the half bind here if you'd like, bringing the hand behind the back onto the thigh. Exhale, hands by the feet, stepping back into plank, spinning onto the back toes. Calming down through your version of chaturanga. Maybe you lower from full plank, maybe you keep the knees down, untucking the toes, lifting up into cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, coming into downward facing dog when you're ready. On your next inhale, left foot comes forward in between the hands, lowering down the back knee and preparing to lift up into your low lunge. As you inhale, reaching tall. Exhale, cactus arms, lion's breath. Inhale, reaching tall again. Hands by the feet, lifting the back knee, lowering down the back foot, keeping a bend in that front knee, rising up into warrior two. Coming into reverse warrior on your inhale. Option to take that half bind if that feels good. The right arm comes behind the back. And exhale, hands by the feet, spinning onto the back toe, stepping back into plank and lowering down. Inhaling, upward dog or cobra. And exhaling, downward facing dog. Taking a couple of breaths to reset here. Really grounding down through the feet, through the fingers, reaching toward the hips. On your next inhale, float, step or walk to the top of your mat, coming to meet in halfway lift. Exhale, releasing to forward fold. As you inhale, rising up to stand, reaching tall. Exhale, hands to prayer. When you're ready, inhale, arms rise up, reaching tall. Exhale, releasing down into forward fold. Inhale, hands to shins, coming into halfway lift. Exhale, hands by the feet, stepping back into plank. And coming through your version here, maybe you take a chaturanga this time, if that's in your practice. Or maybe staying, lowering down from full plank, inhaling into upward dog or cobra, and exhaling into downward facing dog. Option from here as you inhale to bring the right foot forward and coming straight into a half moon. So you may want to grab a block for this one if that's in your practice, bringing the block forward in front of the foot, lifting the back leg, and then taking a moment to get your balance, opening up, flexing through the back foot, and seeing if you can open up through the chest as the left arm comes up to the sky. One more breath. As you exhale, lowering down the back foot, leaving your block, rising up into your warrior two. Inhale, option to take that reverse warrior with the half bind. And exhale, hands by the feet, spinning onto the back toe, stepping back into plank. Coming through your version of chaturanga here. Inhaling, upward dog or cobra. And exhale into downward facing dog. On your next inhale, left foot comes forward in between the hands. And option again to come into that half moon. So do feel free to use a block here. It may be that you're comfortable to come in without the block. So lifting the back foot when you're ready and opening up through the chest if you can as the right arm reaches up to the sky, flexing through the back foot to give you support and allowing the chest to come forward. On your next exhale, lowering down the back foot if you can, rising up into warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior, option to take the half bind. Exhale, hands by the feet, spinning onto the back toe and stepping back to plank, coming through your version of chaturanga when you're ready. Inhaling, upward dog or cobra, and exhaling into downward facing dog, taking a lion's breath if you wish. On your next inhale, coming forward into plank, lowering the knees down. And then bringing the hands behind the body, taking a couple of those saddle poses. Now a little bit of a rest after all that hard work. So hands behind the body. As you inhale, lifting up through the hips, maybe the head comes back. Exhale, lowering down. Inhale, lifting up when you're ready. Exhale, and the head and hips come down. So you may want to stay with saddle, maybe that's feeling really good for your body. You might find that you'd like to open up the quads a little bit more, which in that case, maybe grab a couple of pillows if you have them. So depending on your quads and your back, it might be that you're feeling quite open, which in that case, you can have a little walk back and maybe see about coming down onto elbows. It might be that actually things are feeling quite tight, so you want to have a nice bit of cushioning to kind of catch and support you. And if this is feeling like quite a lot when you're coming down, then staying with that saddle pose, because there's a little bit more control there in terms of choosing the specific amount that feels good for you with the opening. So if you're back on your elbows, you can allow your head to come back, opening up through the front of the legs. And if you're feeling particularly open, you may find that it feels comfortable to come down a little bit further. So this is really about feeling into your body, about how tight your body is, about what it's feeling. So this is a back bend here as well as a sort of a quadricep opener, so front of the legs. If you've got your cushions and support, you may find that there's space to come down a little bit further. Being really mindful about how far you come down here. You know that everyone's bodies are very different. So seeing if you can listen into your body. If it feels better to stay with saddle pose, then staying with that, staying in control of that movement. On your next inhale, if you have come down, drawing your chin towards your chest, keeping the elbows on the ground so that you can come up evenly without too much rocking. And then moving any props that you've got back over to one side. And from here, coming to sit with the legs crossed, if that feels good, or you can stay kneeling. And just coming through a little twist, just to release the back if you did take quite a big back bend there. So left hand comes to right knee, bringing the right hand behind the body, taking a little twist. And then when you're ready, coming over to the other side, right hand to left knee, left hand behind the body, and opening on this side. Inhaling, coming back to center. Now when you're ready, working your way down onto your back. So scooting about halfway up your mat. We're going to come into bridge. So if you know you'd like to take a supported bridge, then bring in a block with you. Otherwise, coming down as you are. So taking the feet to about hips width apart, bringing the hands down by the side of your body. So you should just about be able to kind of almost like tickle the back of your heels with your fingertips. So that's about where you want your feet to be. So seeing if you can just about reach your heels with your fingertips. Checking that your feet are parallel, so they're not sort of really sticking out or in to one side and they're hips width apart. And then whenever you're ready, as you inhale, pressing through the feet, lifting the hips, coming into bridge pose. So you can roll onto the shoulders here if you'd like, bringing the hands underneath. You can clasp the hands together, pressing them down into the ground. And then really pressing up and lifting through the hips, imagining that you're maybe holding something very precious in between the knees. So something that if you squeeze too hard with your knees together, it'll break. But if you relax too much, then you'll drop it. If you want to take the supported bridge, you're bringing your block either lengthways or widthways underneath the sort of like the base of the spine, underneath the hips, and then you can have a nice little relaxing bridge instead. So that's totally a great option to take. I really encourage it if you're feeling like you want something restorative at this point in the class. Otherwise, staying in your active bridge for another couple of breaths. Maybe watch your breath and your chest rise and fall. On your next inhale, rising up onto the toes, giving yourself a little bit of space to move the arms out to the side and lowering down really slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae onto your back. And once you get here, you can take a little wind scream with the legs from side to side. And then option to come through one more time. So if you took the active bridge last time, you might want to take restorative. If wheel is in your practice, then feel free to take wheel. So if you are taking wheel, then the hands need to the shoulders need to feel open enough that the hands can come down to sort of either side of the face, so just by where the shoulders are. And then keeping the feet and the hands on the ground, you're pressing through hands, through feet to lift the body up into wheel. So if when you're bringing the hands back here, it's kind of difficult to get the hands flat to the ground, then stay with bridge because, it's going to be very difficult to get up into wheel if your shoulders are feeling a little tight and there isn't the space for that today. So if you are coming through bridge, then when you're ready, on your next inhale, lifting through the hips, and then either taking your supported bridge or rolling over onto the shoulders, clasping the hands together. And as always, if you'd like a little bit extra in bridge today, you can practice with a one-leg bridge, so you can lift one leg off the ground, reaching the foot towards the sky, and you can kind of do a half and half, so one leg up, one leg down, and you can swap part way through. So taking one more breath if you have lifted a leg, and then taking a little swap. If you're in wheel, coming down at any time that feels good for you. And if you're in bridge, making sure that you're keeping the hips lifted if you have decided to lift a leg from the ground. And then if you've got a leg lifted, bringing it down. If you're in wheel, coming down at any time, lowering down really carefully onto the back of the head first if you're coming down from wheel. And when you're ready to come out of bridge, lifting up onto the tiptoes, hands come out to the side, removing any blocks, and lowering down. And when you get there, taking that little windscreen wiper of the legs from side to side. And then wrapping hands around the shins. We're going to take a little rock back up to seated again. So you can come over onto one side, or if you're happy to take the rock, maybe hands by the shins or hands behind the thighs, and then taking a little rock back and forward for a couple of rocks. And when you're ready, coming up to seat. Once you get up to seated, separating the feet nice and wide. And here you can bring in any cushions you've got. We'll come into a wide leg seated forward fold. So if you want to set yourself up with a nice stack of cushions and blocks, then please feel free to do so. That can feel really good. You may find that actually sitting in this position today, it feels good to have the hands behind instead, focusing on opening up through the chest. So the option is yours here as to how you want to take this pose. If you are folding forwards, then leading with the chest as you come down, rather than with the head. So seeing if as you're coming forward, if you can lead with the chest rather than collapsing in and the head coming down. And this is where you can have your nice stack of cushions and things like that. So you can set yourself up if you've got a block with a nice little rest for the head. You can fold down all the way. You can take a bind with the big toes and bring the forehead down to the ground if you're feeling particularly open today. Or you can stay with the hands behind, opening up through the chest. Wherever you are, taking a few deep breaths, maybe allowing the eyes to close. On your next inhale, if you folded forward, slowly making your way back up to seated. And when you get there, bringing a hand under each knee, bringing the knees together. You can have a little shake out of the legs. You can take a windscreen wiper, whatever's feeling good. And then whenever you're ready, slowly making your way back down onto your back. If you didn't take the fold in forward fold, you might like to bring the knees into the chest, bring the forehead up to the knees just to release the lower back, release the spine. Maybe you take a little rock here. And then releasing, opening up, coming into Shavasana. So any variation that's feeling good for you today. Maybe you're lying down on your back. Maybe you take legs up the wall. Allowing the eyes to close, the breath to come back to normal, the body to fully release into the ground. Maybe noticing the difference in energy in your body. How do you feel now compared to at the start of class? What's it like in your body? How did that practice feel for you? Giving it permission to surrender to the mat after that fast pace and fiery class. This is the chance that your body has to release, to relax. Giving yourself these few moments in Shavasana, so important for yoga practice. And then stay in here for as long as you've got time to today. taking a few more minutes. Maybe you want to pop on some music, maybe you want to stay here in this quiet space. Thank you for joining me in practice today. Namaste.